In this video, I want to show you how to paint an anime eye without a line art. When you're painting the skin, you're actually already painting the eye because the skin color will frame the eyes. Like this edge over here. This indicates the inner corner of the eye. Usually I like to soften this edge with a clean brush so it creates a soft transition from the skin to the white part of the eye. Also, this bottom edge is very important because this frames the bottom of the eye. I usually leave this edge sharp. Now the skin color is dry, I'm putting on a little bit more reddish color around her eyelids, and this will indicate the shadow created by the eyelids and the folds around the eyes. I'm blending the edges using a clean brush to make it to create a soft edge. You can also add reddish tone down here where the blush will be, so it can connect with the blush. This will make your character look more alive and three-dimensional. While these skin color are still drying, we can start painting the iris. And what I'm using here is a blue, so we're going to paint a blue eye. And the color I'm using is just really strong. I put just enough water on my brush to melt the paint. I have the tube paint squeezed onto my palette and it's dried already. So I'm just wetting my brush just enough so I can grab a really strong color. And what I'm doing here is to put down the stronger as strong as possible on the top half of the eye. And along the edges here, I'm avoiding this little circle. This is the highlight of the eye. And I'm painting along the edges down a little bit. And then I rinse my brush and get rid of excess water. And use my clean brush with just a little bit, clean damp brush with just a little bit water on there to pull the water, to pull the paint down. So the really strong blue comes down as a kind of light and bright blue. So this will be the reflection part, the lighter part of the iris. If you think the top is not dark enough, you can go in with some strong paint to drop it in. So this is like painting wet on wet. You can strengthen the color while it's still wet, but don't meddle too much. If it's dry already, it's very easy to create watermarks. Now I want to strengthen the shadow created by the eyelids. There's usually quite a few folds above the eye created by the eyelids, so you see all sorts of folds here to make the eye more three-dimensional. The shadow I put on there was a little too light. You want to vary the strength of the color to indicate the folds. So same thing, blend some of the edges and leave some of the edges sharp. For the eyelashes, I'm switching to a smaller brush. The color I'm using is the indigo to go well with the eye color. I'm using really thick paint, pretty much straight from the tube with damp brush, so the color is really strong. If you're unsure, you can always paint lighter color layer first and then strengthen it using a few different layers once it's dry. For the end of the eyelashes, you want to make sure you gently drag these out, and then you want to make sure you can create a really fine and pointy ends. A blunt end will definitely not look natural. Also, having a really thick paint, well, not really thick, decently thick paint on your brush that you can barely make a complete line, that will be really helpful. You don't want a dry brush mark as the eyelashes, because if you're painting like me on a cold press, if your paint is too dry, you're gonna create the dry brush effect, which is like a skip marks on your eyelash. Then that doesn't look good. But if that happens, you can just use a little bit of water, a clean brush, to make the line complete. Right, so I think that's pretty much for the eyelash. I'm just adding a little bit of line here, just indicating multiple eyelashes on both ends. If it's just a complete thick line, it will look a little bit too boring. Since the eye I'm painting now is kind of half, like not fully opened, and the eyelashes kind of are draping down a little bit, so I don't paint the eyelashes like curling up perpendicularly to the eye. The eyelashes, the angle is more towards the side. So that is it for the top half of the eyelashes. So for the bottom, I only paint the outer half of the eyelashes, because I think if I paint the complete lower lash line here, it will look very rigid, because the whole painting is kind of a soft and loose feeling. It's not like a digital painting where you have super strong contrast. So it depends on the character design. Usually I leave the bottom half of the eye framed by the skin color or skin color plus the blush color, and only paint the outer half. And where it ends, you want to make sure it's super thin. For the eyebrow, because her eye color is blue, I mixed up a cool gray as the eyebrow. I'm also creating a soft edge for the inside of the eyebrow. For the outer edge, I'm keeping it really thin and sharp. To make the eye three-dimensional, we can't forget about the shadows created by the eyelids. So I'm using a cool gray color just to add a shadow under the eyelid. And I'm also bringing it down here a bit to indicate the spherical shape of the eyeball. The last step is to add highlights in the eye. At the very beginning, we have already left this circle, this white circle, unpainted as the highlight. But if you somehow painted over it or didn't leave it, this is when you can add a highlight to it. I didn't need to, but I just want to show you it can be done easily with a opaque white gouache or white ink, anything that's opaque. I also want to add another dot here. So this is my simple method to paint an anime eye without a line art. I hope you find it helpful. And if you have any questions, leave them in the comment below.